I couldn't reach my daughter for 5 days. When I went to her house, I heard scratching under the bed. Chapter 1. The phone felt heavy in my hand. 5 days. 5 days of straight to voicemail. 5 days of texts that never showed as delivered. 5 days of a mother's intuition screaming that something was terribly, horribly wrong. I told myself to calm down. Sarah was 34 years old. A grown woman. A successful architect with a firm in downtown Chicago. She didn't need her mother calling every single day. But we had a rhythm. A call every evening at 7. Sometimes just 5 minutes. Sometimes an hour. But always at 7. Monday came and went. No answer. Tuesday, I left a message. Sweet ART, give me a call when you get this. Just checking in. Wednesday, the knot in my stomach had twisted into something solid. I called her office. The receptionist, a young girl with a chirpy voice, told me Sarah had taken some personal days. She didn't know when she'd be back. I asked to speak to her supervisor. He was curt. Professional. He said Sarah had requested the time off, and that was all he could tell me. Thursday, I called her best friend, Diane. Diane hadn't heard from her either. She tried to sound reassuring. You know Sarah, Margaret. She gets buried in her projects. She probably just turned her phone off to focus. I knew my daughter. She wouldn't turn her phone off for 5 days. Not without telling me first. Friday morning, I woke up at 4. I made coffee I couldn't drink. I sat at the kitchen table, watching the sun crawl over the horizon. My hands were shaking. I'm 71 years old. My husband, Robert, passed 3 years ago. Lung cancer. He was the calm one. The one who said, don't worry, and meant it. Without him, the worry just sat in my chest, festering. At 7 in the morning, I got in my car. The drive from my little house in Naperville to S.A. Ross condo in the city takes about 45 minutes without traffic. With rush hour, closer to 90. I didn't see Ari. I needed to see her. The radio was playing oldies. I turned it off. The silence was better. It let me think. Let me imagine all the terrible things that could have happened. A car accident. A fall. A break-in. My mind, a mother's mind, went to the darkest corners. Her building was a modern thing, all glass and steel, on a street lined with overpriced boutiques and coffee shops. I parked in a visitor spot near the entrance. The doorman, a young man named Javier, recognized me. Mrs. Callahan, he said, his eyebrows raising. It's good to see you. I haven't seen Miss Sarah in a few days. The words hit me like a slap. You haven't seen her either, he shook his head. Not since Sunday. She came back from a walk, I think. She looked a little tired. But she went right up. Can you let me in, Javier? I've been trying to call her. I'm worried. He didn't hesitate. He knew me. He knew I was her mother. He buzzed me into the lobby and called the elevator for me. Let me know if everything is okay, Mrs. Callahan. I nodded, my throat tight. The elevator ride was slow. Too slow. The polished metal walls reflected a red old woman back at me. My gray hair was a mess. My glasses were smudged. I didn't see Ari. Her floor. 7th. I walked down the repeated hallway. The air smelled like stale air freshener. I reached her door, number 714. I could hear the faint hum of a refrigerator from inside. Or was that just my imagination? I knocked. H.A. Road, S.A. Rod's mom. Open the door. Nothing. I knocked again, righter this time. S.A. Ra. Still nothing. A woman across the hall opened her door a crack, looked at me, and closed it again. I was making a scene. I didn't see Ari. I pulled out my phone and called her again. I could hear it. Her ringtone. A tinny, familiar melody, muffled, coming from inside the condo. It rang and rang until it went to voicemail. My heartsta root pounding in my ears. She was in there. Her phone was in there. Why wasn't she answering the door? I pressed my ear against the cold wood of the door. I listened. I held my breath. The building was quiet. Too quiet. I was about to call out again when I heard a soft, scraping sound. Scratch. 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 It was coming from inside. A slow, methodical noise. It sounded like fingernails on wood. It was faint, ba rely audible over the sound of my own heartbeat, but it was there. Sa ra. I called out, my voice cracking. Is that you? The scratching stopped. I waited, my breath stuck in my throat. The silence was heavier than the noise. It pressed down on me. I leaned my forehead against the door. My hand was still pressed flat against the wood. The scratching sta root again. Faster this time. A frantic, desperate sound. Scratch. Scratch. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It was coming from low down. On the floor. Near the door. A chill ran down my spine. It wasn't the sound of an animal. It was the sound of a person. A person trying to get out. A person who couldn't reach the door handle. I sta root to shake. Javier. I screamed, pounding on the door. Javier. Call 911. I didn't even know if he could hear me. I was pounding and screaming. Sa ra. Hang on, Sweethia RT. I'm going to get help. The scratching under the door stopped, and I heard something else. A weak, muffled sound. A moan. Or a cry. It was so faint I almost missed it. It came from the floor, right on the other side of the door. My daughter was on the other side of that door. She was alive. She was trying to get to me. And she couldn't. I kept pounding, kept screaming her name. My fists were raw. My throat was burning. But I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. Every second that ticked by felt like a lifetime. The image of her, trapped, alone, scratching at the door, burned into my brain. Javier came running down the hall. His face was white. Mrs. Callahan, what's happening? She's in there. She's alive. I heard her scratching. Call the police. Call an ambulance. He was already on his phone. I could hear him talking, his voice frantic. I leaned against the door again. I pressed my ear to the wood. Sa ra, Sweethe RT, can you hear me? Help is coming. You just have to hold on a little longer. Can you scratch again if you can hear me? I waited. My HRT hammered. And then, so faint I almost missed it, I heard it again. Scratch. Just once. But it was there. She heard me. She was still in there. Still fighting. Tars streamed down my face. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. You hear me? I'm not leaving you. The minutes stretched into an eternity. I heard the sirens in the distance. They grew louder, closer. Javier was standing at the elevator, waving his ARMS. The paramedics were coming. They burst through the elevator doors. 4 of them. 2 firefighters, 2 paramedics. They were CA-ring equipment. A battering ram. A medical bag. Move aside, ma'am, one of them said. He was young, with a kind face. We're going to get her out. I stepped back. I pressed myself against the wall. My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. They positioned the battering ram. The sound of the wood splintering was ugly and violent. The door crashed open. They rushed in. I tried to follow. A firefighter, a big man with a thick neck, put a hand on my shoulder. Stay here, ma'am. Let us work. Please, I begged. That's my daughter. I need to see her. Give us a minute. We need to make sure it's safe. I stood in the hallway, trembling. The seconds crawled by. I could hear them inside. Footsteps, heavy and urgent. I could hear them calling out her name. And then a shout. In here. Under the bed. Under the bed. The scratching. She was trapped under the bed. My legs went weak. I slid down the wall. I couldn't breathe. The world was spinning. My daughter was under the bed. She had been under that bed for 5 days. I heard more shouting. The sound of furniture being moved. The heavy scrape of a bed frame across the floor. I heard their voices, muffled, urgent. And then, a woman's voice. My daughter's voice. A weak, terrified cry. Mom, mom, is that you? SARH. I screamed. I'm here. I'm right here. The paramedic, the one who had held me back, came to the door. We're bringing her out now. She's conscious. She's weak, but she's alive. They brought her out on a stretcher. My heart shattered into a million pieces. She was pale, gaunt. Her skin was gray. Her eyes were sunken in her face. There were RK circles under them. Her wrists were raw and red, like she had been trying to break free from something. She was wearing a white t-shirt and sweatpants. The clothes were dirty. They looked like she had been wearing them for days. She saw me and reached out a trembling hand. Mom, I rushed to her side. I took her hand. It was cold and bony. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. What happened? What happened to you? One of the paramedics, a woman with kind eyes, spoke gently. Ma'am, we need to get her to the hospital. She's severely dehydrated. She might have some injuries. She needs to be checked out. I'm coming with you. I'm not leaving her side. They let me ride in the ambulance. I held her hand the whole way. She was rely conscious. Her eyes kept fluttering open and closed. Mom, she whispered, her voice a dry rasp. The door. The door was locked from the outside. What do you mean, sweet Artie, the door? I couldn't open it. The lock was changed. I couldn't get out. A cold dread settled in my stomach. The door was locked from the outside. That meant someone had locked her in. Someone had deliberately trapped my daughter in her own condo. Who did this to you? She squeezed my hand weakly. Her eyes closed. She was fading. I looked at the paramedic. She said the door was locked from the outside. The paramedic's face was grim. We'll document it. The police will want to talk to her when she's stable. At the hospital, they rushed her into the emergency room. I was left in the waiting array. A sterile, ugly room with uncomfortable plastic chairs and a TV blaring some morning talk show. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't sit still. I paced. I kept thinking. The door was locked from the outside. The scratching under the bed. She was trying to get out, but she was trapped. Trapped for 5 days. No food. No water. Just the darkness and the sound of her own breathing. Who would do that? Who would do that to my daughter? I called Diane. I told her what happened. She was in shock. She said she'd come to the hospital. I called my sister, Rutha. She lived in Florida. She said she'd catch the next flight. I sat down in one of those awful chairs. My hands were resting on my knees. They were still shaking. I read at the floor. The linoleum was scuffed and old. I watched the patterns of the scuffs. I counted them. I tried to stop my mind from racing. It didn't work. I kept seeing her face. That pale, gaunt face. Those sunken eyes. The raw wrists. The fear in her voice. The way she squeezed my hand. The door was locked from the outside. Someone had done this to her. But why? I thought about her ex-boyfriend, Daniel. He had been possessive. Controlling. The breakup was messy. He had threatened her. Could he have done this? Could he have locked her in her own bedroom for 5 days? I thought about her neighbors. She had never mentioned any of them being a problem. But you never knew. There are strangers everywhere. People who seem normal. People who are hiding something. I thought about her job. She was an architect. She worked long hours. She was successful. Could someone at work have a grudge? A jealous colleague? A client who was unhappy? I didn't know. I didn't know anything. I just knew that my daughter had almost died, and someone was responsible. A doctor came out. He was a young man with a tired face. He looked at me, and I could see the weariness in his eyes. He'd probably been on shift for hours. Mrs. Callahan, I stood up. How is she? Is she going to be okay? She's stable, he said. She's severely dehydrated. She's malnourished. Her kidneys were rooting to shut down. But we're giving her fluids. We're monitoring her. She's going to pull through. I cried with relief. I didn't see who saw me. I just cried. TRS of joy. TRS of relief. My daughter was going to be okay. Can I see her? She's conscious, he said. She's asking for you. He led me through the double doors. Past the nurse's station. Into a small, quiet room. Ra was lying in a hospital bed. She was still pale, but her eyes were open. They were filled with TRS. Mom, she whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you had to see me like that. I rushed to her side. I took her hand. Don't be sorry, sweet Artie, don't you ever be sorry. I'm just so glad you're okay. What happened? What happened to you? She looked at me, her eyes wide with fear. Mom, I didn't lock that door. I didn't change the lock. I woke up on Sunday morning and I couldn't get out. My phone was in the living room. I left it there the night before. I was trapped in my bedroom. I had nothing. No food. No water. Just the bed. I squeezed her hand tighter. Who did this? S.A. Ra, who locked you in? She looked at the ceiling. She was thinking. Processing. I could see the fear in her eyes. The trauma. I think. I think it was Daniel, she said. Or maybe someone he sent. He came to the apartment a few days before. He wanted to talk. I told him to leave. He was angry. He said I was making a mistake. He said he would make sure I never forgot him. He did this to you? I asked, my voice trembling with rage. He locked you in your own bedroom for 5 days. I don't know for sure, she whispered. But who else could it be? I looked at her. There was something in her eyes. A flicker of uncertainty. A tiny hesitation. It was so small I almost missed it. I need to tell you something, Mom, she said, her voice getting even quieter. When I was under the bed, I wasn't alone. I heard something else. In the closet. Before you came. Before the scratching. I heard it breathing. I read at my daughter, my mind reeling. What do you mean? Sweet, something in the closet. She nodded weakly. Her eyes were wide, ring at the ceiling like she was still seeing it. I was trying to stay quiet. I thought if I was quiet, they would go away. But they didn't. They were in the apartment. I could hear them moving around. There was more than one. I don't know, she said, her voice trembling. I could hear footsteps in the living room. Heavy footsteps. And then I heard the closet door open. And I heard it. Something breathing. Heavy, wet breathing. It was right there. In the closet. Just standing there. I was confused. But you were trapped in the bedroom. They locked you in. How did someone get in the bedroom? I don't know, she whispered. The door was locked. I couldn't get out. But I could hear them. Inside. In my room. I hid under the bed. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just listened. They were in my closet. And then the footsteps left. The front door opened and closed. And I was alone. But the scratching. I didn't do the scratching, Mom. I was trying to get to the door. But I was too weak. I couldn't move the bed. I was just trying to get attention. It was that or cry. I chose to scratch. The scratching. The sound I heard under the door. It wasn't a random noise. It was her. Calling for help. Her last desperate attempt to survive. But the breathing in the closet. The footsteps in her room. That was new. That changed everything. Did you see them? I asked. Did you see who it was? I couldn't see anything, she said. I was under the bed. I couldn't move. I could only hear. It was terrifying, Mom. I thought I was going to die. I pulled her into a hug as gently as I could. You're safe now. You're safe. I'm here. No one is going to hurt you. But the words felt hollow. The man who had done this was still out there. Daniel was still out there. If it was Daniel. And the breathing in the closet, what was that? A nurse came in to check S.A. Ross' vitals. She smiled at me, a professional smile, and told me to step out for a few minutes. I didn't want to leave, but I knew I had to. I went to the waiting area. It was empty now. The TV was still blaring. I found a seat in the corner and sat down. I couldn't stop thinking about what S.A. Ra had told me. The breathing in the closet. The footsteps. The fact that she hadn't done the scratching under the door. Something had been in that apartment with her. Something that had come and gone. The police arrived an hour later. 2 detectives. A man and a woman. They wore plain clothes, but I could tell they were cops. They had that look. The man was tall, with a tired face. The woman was shorter, with sharp, intelligent eyes. Mrs. Callahan, the woman said. I'm Detective Miller. This is Detective H.A. Riss. We'd like to talk to you about your daughter. She's in the ICU, I said, my voice shaking. She's conscious now, but she's weak. They don't know when she'll be released. Detective Miller nodded. We understand. We've secured the scene. We're doing a full investigation. Can you tell us anything about what happened? I told them everything. The 5 days of silence. The unanswered calls. The trip to her condo. The scratching under the door. The paramedics breaking in. Finding her under the bed. I told them about the breathing. The footsteps in the closet. The door was locked from the outside, I said. She told me that. before she passed out. Detective H.A. Riss, the man, made a note in a small notebook. We found the lock. It was a new deadbolt. Not the original one. Someone installed it from the outside. Probably a few days ago. A few days ago. Who would do that? I asked, my voice rising. Who would lock my daughter in her own home? Has she had any problems lately? Detective Miller asked. Any arguments? Anyone who might want to hurt her? I thought about it. Her ex-boyfriend, I said. Daniel. He was possessive. She broke up with him because he was controlling. He came to her apartment a few days before this happened. She told him to leave. He was angry. He said she was making a mistake. He said he would make sure she never forgot him. Detective H.A. Riss looked at me. We'll look into him. We're talking to the doorman. We're looking at surveillance footage. We'll find out who did this. They left me with their CARDS promise to keep me updated. I went back to S.A. Ross' room. She was sleeping. Her face was peaceful, but there were still dark circles under her eyes. The 4 was dripping into her ARN. The machines were beeping softly. I sat in the chair next to her bed and watched her sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about what the detectives had told me. A new deadbolt. Installed from the outside. That meant someone had a key. Or someone had broken in while she was sleeping and installed it. The thought made me sick. I stayed at the hospital all day. S.A. Ra woke up a few times. She was groggy. Disoriented. She asked for water. She asked for her phone. I told her the police had it. She nodded, then fell back asleep. Diane came in the afternoon. She was crying. She hugged me tight. Oh, Marga Rhett, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this happened. Is she going to be okay? She's going to be fine, I said. She's strong. She's going to pull through. Who would do this to her? Diane asked. Who would lock her in her own apartment? I don't know, I said. The police are looking into it. They're talking to Daniel. Diane's face hardened. I always knew that man was trouble. He was too controlling. Too possessive. S.A. Ra should have ended it sooner. I nodded. I agreed. But something was nagging at me. Something S.A. Ra had said. The breathing in the closet. The footsteps. Daniel was possessive, but was he the type to break in and hide in a closet? To lock her in, and then leave it didn't feel right. That evening, I went back to S.A. Ross' condo. Javier, the doorman, was on duty. He looked relieved to see me. Mrs. Callahan, he said. I'm so glad Miss S.A. Ra is okay. I've been so worried. Thank you, Javier. You were a big help. I'm going to go up to her apartment. I need to get some things for her. Of course, he said. I'll buzz you up. The elevator ride was just as slow as before. The same polished metal walls. The same reflection of a SCA red old woman. I got off on the 7th floor and walked down the hallway. The door to her apartment had been replaced. A temporary door with a cheap lock. I used the key S.A. Ra had given me. The condo was a mess. The paramedics had moved furniture around. The police had left powder on the surfaces. It looked like a disaster zone. I walked through the living room. The couch was pushed to one side. The coffee table was overturned. There were empty water bottles on the floor. A half-eaten sandwich on the counter. The kitchen was a wreck. I went into the bedroom. The bed was still pushed to one side, where they had moved it to get her out. The sheets were tangled. The pillow was on the floor. The closet door was open. I walked over to it. The closet was large. A walk-in. Her clothes were hanging neatly on one side. On the other side, there was a mess. A crumpled sleeping bag. A pile of empty granola bar wrappers. A water bottle, just like the ones in the living room. Someone had been living here. In her closet. For days. I leaned down and picked up the water bottle. It was a cheap brand, the kind you buy in a pack of 24 at the grocery store. It was half full. I looked closer. There was a smudge on it. A thumbprint. But that didn't matter. What mattered was the label. It was from a local store. One I recognized. The corner bodega on the next block. Whoever had done this, they shopped local. And then I saw something else. Under the sleeping bag, there was a piece of paper. It was folded. I picked it up. It was a receipt. From the same bodega. I looked at the date. It was from the Sunday before. The day S.A. Ra had been locked in. I read the items. A sandwich. A bottle of water. A pack of batteries. And something else. A box of nails. Nails. Why would someone living in a closet need nails? I put the receipt in my pocket. My heart was pounding. I walked out of the closet, out of the bedroom, into the living room. I looked at the front door. The new deadbolt. The one the paramedics had broken. I examined it. It had been installed from the outside. But that wasn't all. There were small marks on the door frame. Fresh marks. Like someone had been working on it. I opened the door and looked at the frame. There were holes. Small holes. Like someone had been hammering nails into the frame. Nails. Why would someone nail the door frame? And then it hit me. They weren't trying to keep her in. Not just with the lock. They were trying to keep something out. The closet. The breathing. The scratching. The person wasn't after S.A. Ra. They were hiding from something. They had locked S.A. Ra in her bedroom. And then they had sealed themselves in the closet. But why? What were they afraid of? I looked around the apartment again. My eyes fell on the window. It was a large window overlooking the street. The curtains were drawn. I walked over and pulled them open. The afternoon sun flooded the room. And that's when I saw it. On the floor, near the window. A single drop of blood. Dried and dark. I looked up at the window. There was a smudge on the glass. A handprint. A handprint of blood. Someone had been injured. And they had tried to get out. Or they had tried to get in. The police had missed this. They had been so focused on the closet, on the lock, on the manhunt, they had missed the window. The blood was a message. A warning. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. I was about to call Detective Miller when I heard it. A soft sound. Coming from the closet. A familiar sound. Scratching. My blood ran cold. I turned slowly. The closet door was still open. The light was off. The darkness inside was thick and absolute. Scratch. Scratch. It was coming from inside the closet. From the back wall. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't a person. It was something else. Something that had been waiting there since my daughter was rescued. Something that had been in the walls. I walked toward the closet, my legs shaking. The scratching grew louder. Faster. Frantic. I reached the doorway. I leaned in. The darkness was immense. I couldn't see anything. And then a voice. A weak, raspy voice. Help me. I froze. The voice was thin, reedy. It came from deep within the closet. Who's there? I called out, my voice trembling. Please, help me. It was a man's voice. Old. Tired. Desperate. I fumbled for the light switch. My fingers found it. I flicked it on. The closet was empty. The sleeping bag was still there. The wrappers, the bottle. But there was no one there. Nothing. The scratching stopped. The voice was gone. I stood there, my heart hammering. I was hearing things. That was it. Stress. Fear. My mind was playing tricks on me. But the blood on the window was real. I looked at the closet again. At the back wall. There was a panel. A small square panel, about 2 feet wide. It looked like a maintenance access door. For plumbing. Or wiring. I walked over to it. The panel was loose. I could see the edges were splintered, like it had been pried open recently. I reached out and pulled it. It swung open with a creak. Behind it was a dark space. A small crawl space. I could see the building's pipes, the beams. And then I saw it. A shoe. A man's shoe. Brown, scuffed. It was lying on the floor of the crawl space. I leaned in, peering into the darkness. The air was stale and dusty. And there was a smell. A faint, sickly sweet smell. Like decay. My eyes adjusted to the dim light. I could see a shape. A human shape. Lying on the floor, entirely hidden by the pipes. It was a man. An old man. He was wearing a dirty shirt and trousers. His face was pale, his eyes closed. He wasn't moving. Sir, I called out. Sir, are you okay? No response. I reached out and touched his arm. His skin was cold. Colder than the air. I pulled my hand back. I knew. I had seen that stillness before. In my husband, when I found him that morning. The absence. The emptiness. The man was dead. He had been dead for a while. And then I saw the note in his hand. A crumpled piece of paper. I pried his fingers open, wincing at the stiffness, and pulled it out. I unfolded it. The handwriting was shaky, written with a trembling hand. Please don't hurt her. I'm the one you want. I've been hiding for years. I couldn't let him find me. But he found her. He always finds the ones I love. Protect her. Lock the door. Nail the frame. Don't let him in. He's coming back. He's always coming back. My hands were shaking. Who was this man? Who was he hiding from? And why was he in my daughter's closet? I read the note again. Please don't hurt her. I'm the one you want. The ones I love. He was protecting Sarah. He had locked her in the bedroom, not to trap her, but to protect her. He had nailed the door frame to keep something out. And then he had hidden in the closet. He had died there. Alone. Afraid. But who was he? I looked at his face again. There was something familiar about him. The shape of his nose. The set of his jaw. It was a face I had seen before. In a photograph. An old photograph. I pulled out my phone and searched through my photos. I found it. A picture of Robert, my husband. And his brother. His estranged brother, David. David had been a troubled man. A drifter. He and Robert had a falling out years ago. I had only met him a few times. He had been the black sheep. The family secret. Robert never talked about him. And now here he was. In my daughter's closet. Dead. The pieces root to fall into place. David had been hiding. Running from someone. He had come to Sarah for help. She was his niece. His family. And he had led the danger right to her door. The breathing in the closet. The footsteps. It was David. He was trying to protect her. But he had failed. The person he was hiding from had found him. Had found Sarah. And now, the person was gone. But they would be back. They would always be back. I had to get Sarah out of the hospital. I had to take her somewhere safe. Somewhere no one could find her. I left the closet. I walked out of the apartment. I was in a daze. I got in my car and drove to the hospital. My mind was a blur. I had to tell the police. I had to tell Sarah. I had to get us out of there. But as I drove, I realized something. The police had missed the window. They had missed the blood. They had missed the maintenance door. They were incompetent. Or worse, they were looking in the wrong direction. The note said, he's coming back. And I knew, with a mother's intuition, that he was already here. I called Sarah. I'm on my way, I said. Don't talk to anyone. Don't leave your room. Do you understand, Mom? What's going on? Her voice was red. I'll explain when I get there. Just stay put. I hung up. I drove faster. The streets of Chicago blurred past me. I was in a race. A race against time. When I got to the hospital, I ran up to her floor. I burst into her room. She was sitting up in bed. She looked better. Healthier. But her eyes were wide with fear. Mom, what's happening? I told her. I told her everything. The closet. The body. The note. The blood. I told her about David, her uncle. The one she had never met. She read at me, her face pale. I have an uncle and he was hiding in my closet. He was protecting you, I said. He was hiding from someone. Someone dangerous. And now that someone is out there. Looking for you. Mom, I'm red. I know, sweet ART. I'm red too. But we're going to get out of here. We're going to go to the police. And we're going to disap AR. We have to. root gathering her things. I was going to take her out of there. I was going to take her home. But as I reached for her bag, I heard it. A sound from the hallway. Footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Coming closer. The door to her room was open. I looked out into the corridor. It was empty. But I could hear the footsteps. They were close. Right outside the door. I grabbed Ross ARM, get under the bed. I hissed. She looked at me terrified. Mom, whatever you doing, just do it. Trust me. She slid off the bed and crouched under it. I looked around the room. There was nowhere to hide. The bathroom was a small cubicle with a tiny window. Too small to climb through. I had to make a choice. I had to confront the threat. I walked to the door. I looked out into the hallway. The footsteps had stopped. There was no one there. Just the quiet hum of the hospital. But then I saw it. A shadow. Cast on the wall at the far end of the hall. It was the shadow of a person. A tall person. He was standing just out of sight, around the corner. I stepped back into the room and closed the door. I locked it. Sa, I whispered. I'm going to call the police. Don't make a sound. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking. I dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? There's a man at the hospital, I said. He's trying to get into my daughter's room. We need help. What is your location? I gave her the address. The floor. The room number. Help is on the way. Stay calm. Stay on the line. I held the phone to my ear. I could hear the footsteps again. They were in the hallway. Right outside the door. And then a voice. A low, gravelly voice. It wasn't speaking to me. It was talking to itself. A low, muttering chant. She's in there. I know she's in there. I can smell her. I can smell the family. The bloodline. It's time. It's time to finish what I sta root. The door handle rattled. He was trying to get in. I backed away from the door. My heart was pounding in my chest. Sa was under the bed, whimpering. Stay calm, I whispered. Help is coming. The rattling stopped. There was silence. I waited. I listened. And then I heard it. The scratching. Soft, at first. Then louder. More frantic. It was coming from the wall. From the closet. The person in the hallway was not the threat. The threat was inside the room. I turned slowly. The closet door was still closed. I hadn't opened it since I arrived. But I could hear it. The scratching. Coming from inside. Mom, what is that? Sa whispered from under the bed. Stay there. Don't move. Don't make a sound. I walked toward the closet. My legs felt like lead. My hand reached for the handle. I could feel it vibrating. Something was in there. Something alive. I opened the door. The light from the room spilled into the closet. I could see the sleeping bag. The wrappers. The water bottle. The maintenance panel was still open. The crawl space was dark. And then I saw it. A shape. In the corner of the closet. A shape that wasn't there before. It was small. Hunched. It was breathing. I could hear it. Heavy, wet breathing. It turned. I saw its face. It was pale. Its eyes were dark. Its mouth was open. It was smiling. A wide, terrible smile. Hello, Margaret, it said. I've been waiting for you. The shape unfolded itself from the corner of the closet. It was taller than I first thought. Gaunt. Wasted. Its clothes hung off its frame like rags on a SCA recro. The smile never left its face. It was a wound, that smile. A gash of yellow teeth. How do you know my name? I whispered. My voice was Rely breath. It took a step four-way road. Its feet made no sound on the carpet. I know everything about you, Margaret. I know you live in Naperville. I know you drink your coffee black. I know you still sleep on the left side of the bed, even though your husband has been dead for 3 hours. My blood turned to ice. Who are you? It tilted its head. A bird-like gesture. Unnatural. I'm the end of the line. I'm the last stop. I'm what happens when old debts come due. Debts? What debts? It laughed. A dry, rattling sound. Like stones in a tin can. The Callahans. The whole rotten family. They stole from mine. They killed from mine. 100 years ago, and the blood still hasn't dried. So I'm here to collect. I backed away from the closet. My hand found the wall. I leaned against it. I needed something solid. Something real. Sa was under the bed. I could hear her whimpering. She was terrified. I had to protect her. I had to keep this thing away from her. You killed David, I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. He was hiding from you. And you found him. David was a coward, the man said. He knew the gain. He knew the price. But he ran. He ran for 30 hours. And when he stopped running, he found your daughter. He thought he could hide behind her. He thought I wouldn't follow. But you did. I always follow. It's what I do. It's what I was made to do. He stepped out of the closet fully. He was taller than me. At least 6 feet. His skin was papery. Translucent. I could see the veins in his temples. His eyes were black. No white. Just black pits. I looked at his hands. They were long. The fingers were like spiders. The nails were yellow and cracked. Some were missing. You're sick, I said. You need help. You need a doctor. He laughed again. That terrible, rattling sound. I need nothing. I am the cure. I am the end. And you, Marga Ret, the last obstacle. The last mother standing in the way. The police are coming, I said. I called them. They're on their way. They're always on their way. They're never here. Not when it matters. Not when the screaming starts. He took another step toward me. I could smell him. He smelled like wet earth. Like a grave. Like something that had been buried and dug up again. Please, I said. Please don't hurt my daughter. She's innocent. She doesn't know anything about this. She knows enough. She has the blood. The Callahan blood. That's all that matters. That's all that's ever mattered. He reached into his coat. His fingers closed around something. He pulled it out. A knife. A long, serrated blade. It glinted in the light. Sarah, I said. I didn't turn my head. I kept my eyes on the man. Sarah, I need you to run. When I tell you, I need you to get up and run as fast as you can. Mom, no, she said. Her voice was small. Red. I can't leave you. You have to. You have to get out of here. Go to the nurse's station. Find a phone. Call the police again. Tell them we need help. Tell them it's an emergency. The man smiled. That's very noble, Marga Ret. But it's also very stupid. She won't make it to the door. I'll catch her before she takes 2 steps. Maybe, I said. But I'll be in your way. I picked up the lamp from the nightstand. It was heavy. A brass base. A glass shade. I didn't see if it shattered. I didn't see about the noise. I only read about one thing. My daughter. The man lunged. I swung the lamp. It connected with his arm. I heard something crack. He grunted. The knife clattered to the floor. Now, Sarah. Run. She scrambled out from under the bed. She was weak. Her legs were wobbly. But she ran. She ran for the door. The man tried to grab her. I threw myself at him. I wrapped my arms around his legs. He stumbled. He fell to the ground. I was on top of him, holding him down. Go. I screamed. Go now. Sarah reached the door. She fumbled with the lock. Her hands were shaking. But she got it open. She ran into the hallway. The man bucked. He threw me off. I hit the wall. My head cracked against the plaster. I saw stars. I felt blood trickle down my neck. He got to his feet. He was faster than I thought. He lunged for the door. I grabbed his ankle. I held on with everything I had. He dragged me across the floor. I couldn't let go. I couldn't let him get to her. You're making this worse, he led. He kicked at me. His foot connected with my ribs. I felt something give. Pain exploded in my chest. But I didn't let go. Sarah was at the nurse's station. I could hear her screaming. Help! Someone help! There's a man in my mother's room. He's got a knife. The nurses were yelling. I could hear footsteps. Running. Lots of running. The man looked at the door. He looked at the hallway. He knew he was out of time. You've bought her a few minutes, he said. But that's all. I'll find her again. I'll always find her. It's what I do. He pulled his leg free. He ran to the window. He threw it open. I screamed. I tried to get up. My body wouldn't cooperate. He looked back at me. That terrible smile was still on his face. Tell her I'll be seeing her soon. Tell her the debt is almost paid. And then he was gone. He jumped out the window. I heard a crash. A scream from the street below. Someone yelling. I dragged myself to the window. I looked down. He was on the ground. He wasn't moving. There was blood pooling around his head. He had landed on a parkhead car. The roof was caved in. But his eyes were open. He was looking up at me. And he was still smiling. The nurses rushed in. They pulled me away from the window. They laid me on the floor. Someone was taking my pulse. Someone was pressing a cloth to my head. Someone was asking me questions. I couldn't answer. I couldn't think. I could only see that smile. That terrible, unending smile. They took me to a room down the hall. They put me in a bed. They gave me something for the pain. I don't remember falling asleep. I just remember the darkness, and the smile, and the sound of my daughter crying. When I woke up, Sarah was there. She was sitting in a chair next to my bed. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. "Mom," she said. "You're awake." "How long?" I asked. My voice was a croak. "A few hours. You had a concussion. And 3 broken ribs. They said you're going to be okay." I tried to sit up. She pushed me back down. "Don't move. You need to rest." "The man," I said. "The man in the room. What happened to him?" Sarah's face went even paler. "He's dead. He jumped out the window. He landed on a car. They said he died instantly." I remembered his eyes. His smile. "He didn't look dead to me." "The police were here," Sarah said. "They took statements. They searched the room. They looked at the window. They said it was a clear case of self-defense. You're not in any trouble." "I don't worry about trouble," I said. "I worry about you. I worry about keeping you safe." "Mom, I'm scared. I'm so scared. Who was that man? Why was he after me?" I closed my eyes. I didn't know how to answer her. I didn't know how to explain this century-old grudge. The dead uncle in the closet. The blood on the window. The smile. "I don't know everything," I said. "But I know he's gone. He's gone, and he can't hurt you anymore." Sarah nodded. But I could see the doubt in her eyes. The fear. The questions that still had no answers. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. I saw his smile. I heard his voice. "I'll find her again. I'll always find her." The police came back the next morning. Detective Miller was there. Her partner was still processing the scene. "Mrs. Callahan," she said. "I'm glad you're awake. We have some questions." "I have questions too," I said. "Who was that man? Why was he after my daughter?" Detective Miller sat down in the chair next to my bed. She looked tired. She looked like she hadn't slept either. "The man's name was Henry Cross," she said. "He was 67 years old. He had a history of mental illness. He'd been in and out of institutions for most of his adult life. He had a fixation on your family. He believed there was some kind of curse. Some kind of debt that needed to be paid." "A curse?" I said. "He believed in a curse. He believed your family had wronged his family. 100 years ago. A property dispute. A murder. He was obsessed with it. He spent decades tracking down your family line." I felt sick. "He killed David. My husband's brother. He killed him in my daughter's closet." Detective Miller nodded. "We found David's body. We're still working on the timeline. But it looks like David was hiding from Cross for years. He came to your daughter's condo hoping to find a safe place. And Cross found him." "He found Sarah too," I said. "He locked her in her room for 5 days. He was waiting for something," Detective Miller said. "We're not sure what. We think he wanted to draw you out. You and the rest of the family. He wanted to make a point." I thought about the note. "Please don't hurt her. I'm the one you want." David had known. He had known Cross was coming. And he had tried to protect Sarah. "He's dead now," Detective Miller said. "He jumped out the window. He's gone. You're safe. Your daughter is safe." But I wasn't sure I believed her. The smile. The smile haunted me. It said something different. It said he would be back. It said the debt wasn't paid. I looked at my daughter. She was sitting in the corner of the room. She was holding a cup of coffee. She wasn't drinking it. She was just staring at the wall. "Sarah," I said. "Come here, sweetheart." She came over. She sat on the edge of my bed. I took her hand. "I'm going to take you home," I said. "To Naperville. You're going to stay with me for a while. You're not going to go back to your condo. Not until we know it's safe." "Mom, I can't just leave my job. My apartment. My whole life. Your life is what matters," I said. "Everything else can wait." She nodded slowly. She didn't argue. I think she was too scared to argue. Detective Miller left. She promised to keep us updated. She promised to keep the case open. She promised to protect us. But promises are just words. And words don't stop monsters. Words don't stop smiles. Words don't stop the scratching in the walls. I knew Henry Cross was dead. I had seen him fall. I had seen his blood on the pavement. But I had also seen his smile. And I knew, with a mother's intuition, that this was not over. The debt was not paid. And he would be back. We left the hospital that afternoon. S.A. Ra was quiet in the passenger seat. She read out the window at the Chicago skyline, her face blank. I kept glancing at her, checking her breathing, watching for any sign of distress. She was alive. That was what mattered. But she was also broken. I could see it in the way she held herself. The way her hands trembled slightly, even when they were resting in her lap. The drive to Naperville felt longer than it should have. The traffic was heavy. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows across the highway. I turned on the radio. I found an oldies station. Something by the Eagles. I didn't really hear it. I was too busy thinking Henry Cross was dead. The police had confirmed it. His body was in the morgue. His history was documented. He was a madman with a grudge, and he was gone. But the question that kept circling in my mind was different. It was the question that had no answer. Why had he smiled? I pulled into my driveway. The little house was exactly as I had left it. The grass needed mowing. The roses needed watering. The porch light was on. I had left it on. I always left it on. Robert used to say it was a waste of electricity. I used to tell him it made me feel safe. Now I wasn't sure anything could make me feel safe again. S.A. Ra got out of the car slowly. She was still wearing the hospital clothes. A pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt. I had brought them for her, but she hadn't changed. She just stood in the driveway, looking at the house. "It's so quiet here," she said. "It's always quiet here. That's why I like it. I used to think the city was loud. I used to think I needed the noise. But now she just wanted silence." I understood. Sometimes silence was the only thing that made sense. I led her inside. I made her a cup of tea. I made myself a cup of coffee. We sat in the kitchen at the small wooden table where Robert used to read the paper every morning. The clock on the wall ticked. The refrigerator hummed. The world outside was dark and still. "Mom," S.A. Ra said. "I need to know. I need to know everything." I looked at her. She was so pale. So fragile. She had been through so much. But she was also strong. She was my daughter. She deserved the truth. "Your Uncle David," I said. "He was your father's brother. They were estranged. They hadn't spoken in years. I never knew why. Your father wouldn't talk about it. He said it was a family matter. He said it was best left in the past. But you knew something," S.A. Ra said. "You knew he was in my closet. You knew he was dead." "I didn't know," I said. "Not for sure. But I suspected. When I found the note, when I found his body, it sta root to make sense. He was hiding. He was hiding from Henry Cross. And he came to you because you were family. You were the last of the bloodline." "The bloodline," S.A. Ra said. Her voice was bitter. "That's what he kept saying. The bloodline. The debt. What did we do to him? What did our family do?" "I don't know the details," I said. "But I know there was a feud. A long time ago. 100 years or more. 2 families. A dispute over land. Over money. Over a woman. Someone was killed. Someone made a promise of revenge. And the promise was passed down, generation after generation. A curse," S.A. Ra said. "He believed in a curse. He believed in it enough to spend his whole life hunting down our family. Your father. Your uncle. You. He wasn't going to stop. Even when David died, even when he thought the debt was paid, he wasn't going to stop. But he's dead now," S.A. Ra said. "He jumped out the window. He's gone. It's over." I didn't say anything. I didn't want to SCA-re her. But I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over. That smile. Those eyes. They told me something else. They told me he was still out there, somehow. Somewhere. Waiting. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, sta ring at the ceiling. The clock on the nightstand read 2:47 a.m. S.A. Ra was in the guest room down the hall. I had checked on her 3 times. She was sleeping. She was breathing. She was alive. I got up. I walked to the window. I looked out at the street. The houses were dark. The streetlights cast pools of yellow light on the pavement. Everything was quiet. Everything was still. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I pulled the curtains shut. I went back to bed. I lay there, listening to the sounds of the house. The creak of the floorboards, the hum of the furnace, the distant bark of a dog. And then I heard it. A soft sound. Coming from the guest room. Scratching. I sat up in bed. My heart was pounding. I listened. The sound came again. Soft, but unmistakable. Scratch. Scratch. I got out of bed. I walked down the hall. The door to the guest room was open. I looked inside. Sarah was still in bed. She was still asleep. But the scratching was coming from the closet. I walked into the room. My legs were shaking. I stood in front of the closet door. The scratching continued. Slow. Methodical. Like fingernails on wood. I reached for the handle. I opened the door. The closet was empty. Just clothes. A row of Sarah's dresses. A few boxes. A suitcase. No one was there. The scratching stopped. I stood there, staring into the darkness. My heart was pounding in my ears. I wanted to believe it was just a mouse. Just a squirrel in the walls. But I knew it wasn't. I knew it was something else. I closed the closet door. I went back to bed. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, Sarah was in the kitchen. She was making toast. She looked better. Her face had some color. Her hands were steady. Mom, I've been thinking, she said. I want to go back to the condo. I want to pack up my things. I want to sell the place. I can't live there anymore. Of course, sweetheart. I'll come with you. No, she said. I need to do this myself. I need to face it. I need to close that chapter. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her it wasn't safe. But I knew she was right. She needed to do this. She needed to take back her life. Promise me you'll be careful, I said. Promise me you'll call me if anything feels wrong. I promise. She left that afternoon. I stood on the porch and watched her drive away. The little car disapparated red around the corner. I felt a knot in my stomach. I didn't want her to go. But I knew I couldn't keep her here forever. I went back inside. I sat in the kitchen. The clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. I tried to read a book. I couldn't focus. I tried to watch TV. I couldn't hear the words. I just waited. And I listened. At 7 o'clock, my phone rang. It was Sarah. Mom, I'm at the condo. Everything is fine. I'm just packing up some things. Are you okay? Do you need any help? I'm fine. Really? I'll be home in a few hours. I hung up. The knot in my stomach loosened slightly. She was okay. She was safe. 2 hours passed. I called her again. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. A familiar dread crept back into my chest. I tried to ignore it. I told myself she was just busy. She was just packing. She was just ignoring her phone. But I knew better. I knew the pattern. I got in my car. I drove back to the city. The traffic was light. The streets were empty. I made it to her building in 40 minutes. Javier was at the front desk. Mrs. Callahan, he said. Miss Sarah came by ear. She went upstairs. Is she still there? I think so. I haven't seen her leave. I took the elevator up. I walked down the hallway. Her door was closed. I knocked. Sarah, it's Mom. Open the door. No answer. I knocked again. Sarah. Still nothing. I tried the handle. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. The apartment was dark. The curtains were drawn. The air was cold. I stepped inside. I could hear a sound. A low, humming sound. Coming from the bedroom. I walked toward it. My heart was pounding. I pushed open the bedroom door. Sarah was on the bed. She was lying on her back. Her eyes were open. She was staring at the ceiling. She was humming. A soft, tuneless hum. Sarah, I said. What's wrong? She turned her head. She looked at me. Her eyes were empty. Hollow. He's here, she said. He's in the closet. I looked at the closet. The door was open. The light was on. There was no one there. He's not here, sweetheart. It's just us. She shook her head. No, Mom. He's here. He's always here. He was waiting for me. He said the debt isn't paid. He said I still owe him. Who? S.A. Ra. Who said that? She looked at me. Her eyes filled with tears. Henry Cross. He was in the closet. He was waiting for me. He said he's going to keep coming back until I'm dead. He said the family owes him a life. And he's going to take mine. I sat down on the bed. I took her hand. It was cold. He's dead, S.A. Ra. I saw him fall. He's gone. He's not dead, she whispered. He's not dead. He's in the walls. He's in the floor. He's everywhere. And he's never going to stop. I looked at the closet. I looked at the walls. I thought about the scratching, the breathing, the smile. And I knew in that moment that she was right. He wasn't dead. He was something else. Something worse. And he had been waiting for this moment. Waiting for the last of the Callahans to come home. I held my daughter's hand and felt the truth settle into my bones like frost. She wasn't imagining things. She wasn't broken. She was the only one who could still see him. The only one who could still hear the scratching. Listen to me, I said, squeezing her fingers. We are going to leave this place. We are going to go home. And we are never coming back. He'll follow, she whispered. He always follows. Then we'll outrun him. Together. That's what we do. That's what Callahans do. We survive. I helped her off the bed. She was trembling, but she stood. I grabbed her bag. I took her hand. We walked out of that bedroom. We walked out of that condo. We took the elevator down. We walked past Javier and into the night. We drove home in silence. S.A. Ra fell asleep in the passenger seat. I kept my eyes on the road, my hands tight on the wheel. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't want to see what might be following. It's been a year since that night. S.A. Ra is better now. She lives in a small house 3 blocks from mine. She doesn't work in the city anymore. She works from home. She has a garden. She has a cat. She has a life. She still has bad days. Nights when she calls me at 3 in the morning, her voice thin with fear. She still hears the scratching sometimes. She still dreams about the closet. But we've learned to live with it. We've learned to look for the light in the darkness. We've learned that some debts can't be paid. Some curses can't be broken. And some monsters don't need to be killed. They just need to be outrun. I kept David's note. I keep it in my dresser drawer, next to Robert's photograph. I read it sometimes when the fear gets too loud. Please don't hurt her. I'm the one you want. He gave his life to protect my daughter. And I gave mine to keep her alive. The scratching stopped the day S.A. Ra moved out of that condo. But I still hear it sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet and the wind is blowing. I hear it in the walls. I hear it in the floor. I hear it in the silence. And I know. He's still out there. Waiting. Watching. Smiling that terrible smile. But I'm not afraid anymore. Because I've learned something. The real curse isn't the debt. The real curse isn't the feud. The real curse is giving in to the fear. And I refuse to give in. Not for me. Not for S.A. Ra. Not for any Callahan who comes after. He can scratch all he wants. He can breathe in the dark. He can whisper his threats and promises. But he will never have my daughter. Not while I'm still breathing. I'll outrun him for the rest of my days. And I'll teach S.A. Ra to do the same. If you've ever had to protect someone you love from a threat you couldn't see, hit that like button. Share your own story in the comments. Let me know I'm not alone in this fight. Subscribe to stay with us. Because some monsters are real. And the only way to beat them is together.